Hi, my name is Lily, and today I'm going to be going over and giving my opinions on an Ask Me Anything that was done over on the DuggarSnark subreddit a few weeks ago. I'm opening up this video with a picture of Jessa and Claire because if you're interested in a little bit of unconfirmed gossip regarding their relationship dynamics, I'd stay tuned. Now, an AMA Ask Me Anything is only good as it is credible. Now, I know I've seen some AMAs over on DuggarSnark and FunnySnark that are more credible or less credible. A lot of it has to do with how much you can confirm about the person's identity, especially through the mods, and I'll get into that later. But there is one reason why I believe this AMA is a little bit more credible than most. The young lady who does this AMA is claiming to be a former friend of the Duggar family and also claims to have people that she still contacts that are still in their circle. Now, the reason I think that she's more credible is because a few weeks before Anna put this Instagram photo I'm showing right now up to announce that she had had her 7th child and that she had named her Madison Lily, this user actually was on Tumblr leaking the name. I remember when it was posted on Reddit, I was like, guys, this is just trolling. Somebody's trolling us. Like, there's no way that Anna actually named her baby Madison after all that happened with Ashley Madison. But much to my surprise, 3 weeks later, it turned out that the name was true. This is kind of why I find this person more credible. So a little bit more about this user. She actually used to be on Reddit under the name Post Malone's Bong, but deleted her account. She deleted her account because she had leaked that Lauren was allegedly expecting another child and that it was a boy. Now, one thing about Lauren Duggar is that she's taken a lot of steps to remain out of the public eye from at least since November of 2020. Like, she doesn't post pictures anymore. She took all of her photos of her child down, that kind of thing. And so people kind of felt off and expressed that feeling to the user, and I think the user felt kind of attacked and deleted their account. So I think that's enough background. Let's go ahead and jump into her actual post. This is her intro right here. She says, IBLP survivor, ask me anything. She says, hey y'all. Before I start out, I just want to give a huge shout out to the mods for being so accommodating and communicating so well with me. Y'all are the best. Keep kicking some ass. A few of you may remember me. I panic deleted my account after getting some backlash for an insider post I made. It is I, Post Malone's Bong in the flesh. Because of the response from that post, I won't be discussing Lauren or anything mentioned in that post. I hope y'all can respect that. I definitely want to respect Lauren's, not wanting her children on the internet. I think that that is a good idea. I think more of them should kind of go that route, and I appreciate this person trying to respect that and kind of move on. Okay, let's continue. A little background for y'all. I grew up in the IBLP, did wisdom booklets as a part of school. Yep, homeschooled through my senior year of high school, have been through all the Gothard seminars, have been to the conferences and family camps, been to the Tin House, TTH, and there, by the way, is the Tin House, if you don't know. The Duggars Church, been to the Holts way too many times, and in all have been immersed in Fundyland for far too long. I've since broken away from many additional former fundies, but I enjoy the snark more than I like to admit. Recently, I've been realizing how much of my thought patterns still reflect fundamentalist ideologies, and after listening to the Leaving Eden podcast and hearing Sadie say things far too relatable about trying to mentally escape, I thought my AMA would be a great idea. My last AMA was so fun and validating for my past trauma, and so I also want to give all of you a shout out for making me deconstruct through Reddit of all places. Y'all are dope. So I did read that AMA, I think, or at least a little bit of it, but I really don't remember how much she really gave out and if any of this is kind of repeats. Let's continue. Another small side note, I am a very scatterbrained person. Some of my answers may be a little haphazard and more information tends to come to me after I've already answered the question, so bear with me, please. With all that being said, let loose. Literally ask me anything. Nothing is off limits besides Lauren. A side note, I have not been around the Duggars post-trial at all. I'm not qualified, to answer questions that I don't have answers to, which is basically anything post-trial. The last time I was around them in person was in 2015, after the Ashley Madison scandal broke. Any question about post-trial Duggars will remain unanswered. So I think that she does go a little bit into post-trial Duggars when it comes to things that are more asking her questions on like speculations about the Duggars mentalities and whatnot. And I think that there was a lot of questions like, how do you know the answers to some of the questions she was asked? Because she hasn't been there since 2015, but she does let everyone know in several questions that she's still connected to people in their circle, as I explained earlier. So a user asks kind of what I was going over. Are you still in contact with any of the Duggars? Do they know about the sub? When they're saying the sub, they mean the subreddit, DuggarSnark, and basically being like, do they read stuff we say about them? So this was a little silly of me. I forgot to mention that this user, she goes by the, I'm sure it's a nickname, Lily, not to be confused with my name also legally being Lily, but anyway, her nickname is Lily. I'm sure it's not her real name, but I will be referring to her as that from now on. So she says, haha, they know about this sub. I've heard Anna does her fair share of stalking on here, so hi Anna. This kind of shocked me. I know I've heard like people speculate that she's kind of salty, sassy kind of girl, but I just didn't think she would do that. I think that I would be more inclined to believe maybe Josh would look at things, but I was kind of shocked to hear somebody claim that Anna does her fair share of stalking on the subreddit. So someone said, do they believe us wicked sinners are persecuting them? Lily says, yes, but also no, they're just confused with our fascination / snarking, which I find kind of weird. Like, are they just, like, how would she know this? Like, are they just, like, sitting around talking about the subreddit? Like, how often are they referring to this so that somebody who hasn't seen them in 7 years would hear about it from a friend? I don't really get that, but I also wouldn't get why they're confused about the fascination, because it's like your whole brand and show is kind of, especially in the beginning, was like, people are fascinated with you. But maybe they're like, why are they, like, meanly fascinated by it, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense. Let me know. Someone asked, I have family camp questions. Were they fun? How much indoctrination / religious teaching was happening versus just having fun? Were the Duggars treated like celebrities there? Is that Alert Academy something a lot of boys do, or is it really just meant for more misbehaving ones? I love family camp, Lily says. It was always so fun. Alert isn't a thing for misbehaving boys. That's something this sub thinks. While yes, there are boys who are sent there for attitude problems, it's mainly viewed as something that's looked up upon that the boys want to do. See, I've always kind of thought that too, and I didn't really understand where the idea that misbehaving boys were sent to Alert, I don't know, it just kind of seems like something that they like to do, and it's kind of to harden them up to make them more mature men, at least that I've seen on their website. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that, because that's always been something I didn't think that we had right. So someone says, what's the conflict between Anna and the in-laws? Can you give us some examples of the real Anna, not the one from TV? Lily says, it's not conflict, just general annoyance with the in-laws type stuff. They just grind her gears. So the weird thing is I used to see people kind of theorize and speculate that Anna really enjoyed being this oldest Duggar wife kind of role, and she really preferred the Duggars. She preferred Arkansas. She was really enmeshed and enjoyed being in the family. But I see that kind of opinion and theorization really change to Anna, is in conflict with the Duggars. She's annoyed by the Duggars. She doesn't want to be around the Duggars. She has to be around the Duggars, though. And I just wonder if we were just always off about that, and maybe she's always kind of side-eyed the Duggars a little bit, or if that changed kind of when everything went down with Josh for some reason. Or maybe, like, that is just totally untrue, and Anna loves the Duggars, and all the speculation is dumb. I don't know. What's it like courting? Are there like arranged marriages, or do the children have a say in choosing their spouses? Lily said, that's one of the things that's way out of hand in this sub. Most marriages are completely up to the two people in said marriage. Other relationships like Josh and Anna's, Anna didn't have a say, and courtship-wise, it would be when Josiah and Marjorie courted. Okay, so they're saying like those marriages were kind of more very suggested, almost arranged. She said all the others were completely independent. Marriages aren't arranged, but they're encouraged. There's a small difference, but it's there. Okay, so I think that people, I don't know, I think that people do kind of think that they're maybe more encouraged than they are a little bit more arranged. I've always thought that Jim Bob, like if we're talking about the Duggars, Jim Bob might come to somebody and say, hey, I think this is a good person for you, and it might, get off the ground. But I never really thought any of the marriages were arranged except for the Josh and Anna situation. So this seems pretty much like what I thought initially. So, a follow up question. Wait, am I reading this right? Or do I need to get more coffee? Josiah also had no say in courting Marjorie. I mean, he had a say, but it was very highly encouraged. So, someone else asked, I keep hearing Jed and Kathy were arranged. So, her name is Katie, but when you see somebody call her Kathy, basically that comes from Carlin Bates Stewart. When she would comment on Katie's post, she'd be like, Kathy, hey Kathy, congrats Kathy. We're assuming because it autocorrected and she is just didn't notice or is too lazy to change it. So it's kind of funny, but we call her Kathy. Lily says, not to my knowledge, I think the other thing is how quick relationships tend to progress in Fundyland. It's easy to assume they're arranged when really they just want to bang. As far as like funny courtship and relationships go, I don't think that this relationship was that quick. I think that if I remember correctly, I think that they courted for like over a year. And I think that why people think it was so quick was because Snarkers, I know, leaked the information that they were even together when they got engaged in February. And then they got married and posted it publicly and acknowledged it publicly in April. So it just seemed extremely quick when it's not really as quick as it seemed. How strict are they on the no front hugging, hand holding, making out rule in real life? In one of Jill's YouTube videos, she said the chaperone rule was played up for the show and that it was easy to shoot them away and do stuff if they wanted to. You don't have to name names, but do you think there was any kissing before marriage, etc., in any of their courtships? So I don't think Jill said it exactly like that, but she did say something similar. Lily says, it was definitely played up for the cameras. Taking walks is a big thing where you just go for a private walk around the neighborhood, church, property, etc. It was always a good way to be alone, but also in view of people. I don't think a lot of them did anything before marriage. So I always kind of, I don't know, wonder how strict it really was, like how many of them really followed those guidelines. I know that a lot of the Bates children, which obviously the Bates and the Duggars aren't the same, but it's the only comparison we really have. The Bates children have admitted to kissing before marriage and stuff like that. I know Zach, Josie, Alyssa, maybe more. They have all admitted to that. So I don't know. I definitely think it was possible, but I agree, especially if Jill's saying it was played up for the cameras. I mean, it was played up for the cameras. So someone asked if they know Justin from I Pray You Put This Journal Away podcast, and she says basically no, that she's on the younger side. And then that same person asks, so are you closer in age to Jed then? And thanks them for doing that, doing the AMA. She says closer in age to Justin Duggar, actually. So Justin is currently 19. So definitely this person runs on the younger side, so 18, 19, or 20, basically. So someone asks, is Jill actually estranged from her family? We speculate on that here, but she does attend the weddings and stuff. Lily says, I'd say Derek is more estranged than anything. Jill seems pretty okay-ish with everyone. Now, I do realize, like, this person allegedly knows the Duggars, knows people who know the Duggars. Obviously, they probably, if this is true, know more than me. But I wouldn't say Jill is estranged, maybe from Jim Bob I would say. But I wouldn't say Jill is estranged, but I wouldn't say things are okay. They're definitely not normal. I would also love to know what different family members think of Derek. Like, for example, what does Jessa think about Derek? What does Jana think about Derek? I think that would be so interesting. So someone asked, is Josie really the golden miracle child, or has she been lost in the shuffle like the rest? My homie Josie lost in the shuffle. So I think a lot of people kind of see her as spoiled. I mean, it definitely didn't help with like their intro kind of thing being Michelle saying our precious miracle Josie. And also, I mean, I think I've seen some videos of her maybe exhibiting some behavior that some might categorize as spoiled, but it's interesting to see people say that she's lost in the shuffle. So a mod actually asked, is there a rumor, myth, meme about the Duggars that's widely accepted that you wish would die and or think it's completely unfounded? Do you think anything can be ascertained by the siblings who choose to attend the trial? Like, does that seem more like the siblings were supporting Josh or that they were trying to hear the truth for themselves? Any idea how finances work out? Is Jim Bob truly just funding his adult children's livelihood on real estate investments? Is the work that the adult kids do actually generating enough revenue? So Lily says, I'd say Jana and Stephen. Nothing was there. And then she goes on to say, some were in support, like Anna, Justin, and Hillary. The rest wanted the truth. Kids get bored and start businesses, and Jim Bob helps quite a bit. So I have kind of changed my opinion so many times on the Jana Stephen thing. I think at this point, if they were a thing, it was like a very, very short-lived getting to know you talking stage, and it never went to courtship. I'm proud to hear, they were trying to get the truth for themselves. I definitely, with those 2 thumbs up, you guys know what I'm talking about, Justin, I can definitely see how Justin was there in support of Josh, even though Hillary was just like, first, here supporting Anna, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, this question was very interesting to me. Someone asked, do you agree with us snarkers that Jana is pretty much running the show at the Tin House, or do you think Michelle and Jim Bob and Anna actually do their fair share of parenting and chores around the house? Since all the kids are older, there's not much of a show to run. I'm sure Jana does a fair share of work, but it's not like everyone speculates. So that's pretty interesting. I mean, I could see that. I could definitely see that. So the asker replies to Lily's initial answer and says, thanks for sharing. I think a lot of people here are under the speculation that Jana now takes care of the M kids now that her own siblings are older. Lily says, I'm sure she babysits sometimes. Well, we obviously know she babysits sometimes, if you know what I mean. But Anna is actually a really good mom who genuinely cares about all her kids. So, I don't know. Because I think that could, not the Anna being a good mom part, but the part where Jana doesn't have that much of a workload. I think that we also have to note, like, Johanna, Jennifer, and kind of Jordan, they're all getting to be much older teenagers. I think that even with the introduction of the M kids to the house and Josh being gone, I think that it's pretty much taken care of. I think that Jana likely also travels a bit, so I just don't maybe imagine her doing as much work as we assume she does. Now, back in the day, I guarantee you that girl ran tired. I mean, tired. So someone saw Lily say that Anna was a good mom, so they said, I feel like you can provide for your kids and whatnot, but ultimately she's a terrible mother in my opinion because she's kept them around a child P. Lily says, oof, this is what I mean by scatterbrained. I guess she referred to herself as scatterbrained or something. Lily said, I tend to view issues with a close-up lens, somehow forgetting their father is a P. So yes, you're totally correct. She's a bad mom in some ways, but at the moment she's focusing on her kids, which makes her a good mother at the moment. I also tend to try to see the best in people, and I'm rooting for Anna in the long run, which makes my comments look the way they do. So yeah, I think Anna, when she doesn't need to service Josh's desires, needs, whatever, I think she's probably a very engaged mom. I could see why she would, and when I mean she, I mean Lily, would say that Anna is a good mom in that sense. So someone asked, do you have any idea what the current thought process in IBLP is towards Pest / Duggar family in general? Do you know how Anna is actually reacting? Is she actually standing by him firmly, or is there some serious doubt that Jim, Bob, and Misha are trying to stifle? So Lily says, everyone in their tight circle believes his innocence due to more to the story, like Anna said. There's technically more to the story, but Josh is guilty, point blank, period. Basically, everyone there thinks he was framed, especially Anna for sure. So I think probably everybody in their, like, tight circle believe that, but I think outside of that circle, especially with, like, friends of some of the children, like Joy's friends, Abby's friends, that kind of thing, I don't think that that's, the opinion, but I think definitely in their tight circle, I could see that. So as a follow-up question, somebody asked, who do they think framed him? And then the reply is the city of Tontitown. Someone else says, is there any motive they're spreading as to why the city of Tontitown is framing him? Is there also any whispering still about Joe Biden having something to do with him finally facing justice? So that comes from, I think, don't quote me on this, a Sun article where the writer is like, Anna Duggar thinks Joe Biden is framing her husband or whatever. Lily says, psh, yeah, I don't know where the Biden thing came from. I don't want to get hashtag sued, but basically Josh was suing Tontitown and then got raided. You can message me for more info. Interesting. I don't really have anything to say about that, but interesting. So anybody who follows the Duggars at all knows that you can count on Kendra like a clock to pump out a baby. Anyway, someone asked, is Kendra currently pregnant? Anyone else besides the publicly known ones of Katie and Jill? So Lily says, I'm gonna refrain from releasing medical information this time around, but I'm just gonna say y'all's speculation and investigation is very accurate. Okay, girl. So you're basically just saying Kendra's pregnant. I mean, nobody's shocked. I mean, again, you can count on her like a clock. So someone asked, what do townsfolk think of the Duggars? Was Jim, Bob, and Jetty laughingstock when they ran for office? So this is actually not Lily answering, it's someone else, but I just thought this was an interesting tidbit. Take it with a grain of salt. They say, I can't speak for Tontitown residents specifically, but I live 30 minutes away from it and have never met a single non-Fundy Arkansas native with anything but disdain for them. The act worked better on TV. So let's get into the promised Justin and Claire tea. Are you the one who said M7 was Madison on Tumblr? And please do share the tea on Justin cheating on Claire. I'm quite thirsty this morning. So this seems like it comes kind of abruptly, but I think that there was a post like a day or two before that Lily had commented on where she started talking about that. And so this is just a continuation of that conversation. So Lily says, that would be me. I heard the name word of mouth, so that's why it was spelled wrong. The whole Justin thing wasn't too awful by normal people's standards, but by Fundy standards, it was off the charts. It was only a few days after Claire and Justin started officially courting. For those of you that are reading this comment and missed the discussion yesterday, someone walked in on Justin canoodling with an android girl on a couch just a few short days after beginning a relationship. So, okay, it was yesterday. Well, at least yesterday from when the AMA was. So, the Andregs are a family. I think they have like 5 or 6 kids maybe, and they have been around the Duggars for many, many years. So someone asked for a little clarification. What counts as canoodling in Fundy World? In my head, that means kissing, but I also recognize it could be sitting too close to each other on a couch, haha. Lily says, yeah, basically just sitting down cuddling on a couch, perhaps an arm around the other. So the day I read this initially, I immediately went to my girlfriend who really knows nothing about the Duggars except for what I've talked about and what she's been able to retain with all the crap I talk. But we were talking about this, and I don't think that this is just Fundy World. I think that if either of us, me or her, were caught with another person that's not in our family cuddling on the couch, I feel like that would be cause for alarm, cause for like, what the heck? Oh, I don't know, but maybe that's just our boundaries. Let me know. So someone asked who caught Justin mid-canoodle and was there any repercussions? Lily said, I want to say Maddie Crane or Claire herself. I wish she would have answered the question about repercussions because I'd love to know what happened because of that. And then for those of you who don't know Maddie Crane, she just married Daniel Myers a couple of days ago, and they are a part of the Freedomists with Lemuel Reber. I think I could be speaking completely out of turn, and I just have no clue, but I think that they were bought by PragerU, and so they do content for that. I know Joy and Austin were on an episode of the Freedomists, and I know that Maddie is also good friends with Hannah Reber, so Hannah and Lemuel are both children of LeCount and Maria, which is interesting. So it took me a hot minute, but I went and found my screenshots from the post from the day before this AMA, initially talking about the Justin and Claire thing. It was a picture the original poster put up of the Hyde girls and the Andreg girls. I think that they were like in town with the Duggars or something. So Lily says, haha, I've been waiting for them to be mentioned right after Jessa and Claire start courting. He got them canoodling, if you will, on the couch with one of the Andreg girls. The girl's life mission is to marry a Duggar. It's insanity. Also, they're rude as F. And then she says I'm doing an AMA tomorrow. Somebody says, wait, Justin was canoodling with an Andreg girl while he was courting Claire. She says, you heard it here first. So that's really interesting. Life's mission is to marry a Duggar. So then on that other post in the comments, people were asking for more details, and then she says that's really all there was to the situation. Can't recall who caught them, but it caused some issues between Justin and Claire, obviously. So technically, by Fundy rules, Justin cheated on Claire's Spivey. So someone asked any tea on the in-laws. She says Justin and Hillary enjoy smacking each other's butts. And then in another comment, I'm pretty sure somebody's like, is that a joke? I thought it was a joke, and then she says it's absolutely not. Hillary, I need her to rethink her life if that's true. But who knows? So since we just covered that question on Maddie a few questions ago, let's go into this. This may be niche, but do you know the Cranes, specifically Maddie, and why her courtship with Philip Petit ended, and how she got married in secret to Daniel Myers? IF with Maddie hard. I love that B. She's hilarious. We keep in contact practically daily. Sometimes she hasn't really told anyone why her and Philip broke up, but she's married now and I couldn't be happy for her. Yeah, so on accounts where I follow, the Duggars and Duggar adjacent people, I followed her, and I really didn't know that she and Daniel were even together. I thought that they were just business partners for that whole freedomist thing. And I have no idea who Philip Petit is. So someone asked another question about Maddie. They say, was she courting Jason and his big noggin at one point near their mission trip to Greece? And then Lily says, absolutely not. She would rather die than marry a Duggar. Which I think is kind of weird because I've seen these pictures of Justin and Maddie, and I don't know, I just got the vibe that she's like how Lily said the Andreg girls were. It seemed like she was like trying to post pictures with him and like kind of be thirsty for Justin, back in the day before the whole Claire thing. Someone says, don't know if you're still answering questions, but I have one to add. What's up with Hillary's obsession with the Lost Boys? She seems to go out of her way to post pictures of her and the Lost Boys, or comment on every single Instagram post for whatever reason. What's her deal? Is she as suffocating as she seems? Are these boys so starved for attention that they'll go to anyone willing to show them any affection at all? Lily says she's just one of those moms obsessed with being cool, also an attention W. She still hasn't gotten over that her daughter married a Duggar. So yeah, obviously that's weird. It's giving Jill Rodriguez, but I do appreciate that she does make them feel special, because I'm sure that they might have lacked that growing up with 18 other siblings. So someone asked, is any ideas what went wrong with Jill's birth of Sam? Seems like something went horribly wrong, and if so, are they in medical debt as well? So she says as well because the person kind of insinuated Joy and Austin were in medical debt at some point. But Lily says, last time I gave out medical info, people got mad. But there were some life-threatening complications to Jill resulting in her next miscarriage, and yes, they're in medical debt. Alright, well, I think that a lot of people speculate, and I think it was kind of insinuated too in some of Jill and Derek's Q&As, that they kind of left the show around the time of Samuel, and they were very upset that TLC / Jim Bob and his contract didn't help them out with the difficult birth financially, even though they were, making money off his birth. So someone asked, what is Bobye Holt like? Sincere, indoctrinated? Does she seem to understand how messed up Josh is? Did Kaylee get a relatively normal life after she dodged a bullet with Joshy Boy? Lily says, okay, I love Bobye to pieces, but I also can't stand her at the same time. She's the sweetest woman you'll ever meet, but so insanely hardcore indoctrinated, it's wild. Kaylee has a semi-normal life for a Fundy woman. She knows she dodged a bullet with Josh, though. So I've kind of heard a lot of people who, either online or otherwise, who know fundies or people kind of like in that area. And they're like, "Oh, I love this person, but literally, she's so crazy, but she's so sweet. I don't know what to think." So that makes sense. And then I think that I've also heard people say that know Kaylee or claim to know Kaylee that she definitely knows that she dodged a bullet with Josh. What are Lauren and Josiah like? Any thoughts on why they've completely stepped away from the spotlight? Also, did you ever meet Lily Swanson? Any thoughts on her? So Lily Swanson is Lauren's sister. So this Lily says Lauren doesn't like being in the spotlight at all, but she married a Duggar, so I don't know what her plan really was. They seem to vibe with each other though. So that's kind of not what everybody says. Everybody's like they're such a terrible match, like such a weird match. I think definitely if she was a little bit older, maybe she wouldn't have married to Duggar. I know she got married at 19. So I don't think that, being a Duggar, especially in 2017 when they got married, was really good for someone who likes to stay out of the spotlight. So someone asked, what is Jana up to these days? Lily says, doing Jana things. She's a bee, and her best friend Laura DeMazy is an even bigger bee. So Lily addresses Jana with a lot of disdain in a lot of her AMA. I didn't really include it all because it's a little bit repetitive. I believe it was the YouTuber Down the Rabbit Hole at Bedtime, I believe, that made this point that, Lily is 19. 7 years ago, when she was around the Duggars in 2015, she would have been 12. Jana would have been in her mid-20s with a lot of the kids still home and a lot to do. Jana was probably the typical fundy oldest daughter, had a lot to do, was kind of bossy, delegating things. And she could see how, somebody who would go on to leave fundamentalism as a 12-year-old would not really vibe with that personality, so that actually makes a lot of sense. Or maybe Jana's just a huge bee, as she says. Someone asks, okay, that's interesting. So of all the Duggar girls, who is the sweetest and who is the biggest bee? Joy is the sweetest, Jana is the worst. Someone else asks, do you think Joy will break away or send her kids to school? She says, nah, Joy's in it for the long haul. Her and Austin are genuinely happy besides the medical debt they're in. Okay, so this is where the medical debt, like I was mentioning when I was talking about Sam, comes in. Someone asked, this doesn't surprise me at all, what about Jessa? Jessa's actually really nice. Not as much as Joy, but she's sweet. So that's kind of not the general consensus of Jessa on the internet, so that's really interesting. Someone asked, just to round off the older daughters, where do Jill and Jinger fit into this? Lily says, Jill's so sweet. Ginge is sweet, but very reserved, also sarcastic. I think that once, so this girl, Lily, knew Jinger before she got married. I don't see, and maybe this is because we don't really see as much of her, but I don't see Jinger being as sarcastic after she married Jeremy, which is kind of interesting. So someone says, does Anna live in the Ware home or did she move into the big house? Lily says the Ware home. So I've seen a lot of people kind of speculate that she just went ahead and moved into the tin house because there's more babysitters that are closer than, I guess, walking through that path to get to the other side of the property where she lives. But I think it makes more sense that Anna would be in the Ware home. I mean, she's kind of got it how she wants, and I'm sure, if it is true that she's having some issues with the Duggars, that she would want a little bit of privacy while also having access to babysitters and a little bit of help. Do you think Anna will ever be able to distance herself and get some help to deal with the trauma of who she was married off to? Lily says, Anna's actually quite a savage. She can't stand her in-laws, but they're providing for her right now, so she sticks around. I know she's the one who seems best at keeping sweet, but she'll fight a bee in private, which is really funny. I've heard some people kind of speculate that Anna is not the meek girl that she kind of portrayed herself to be. So Lily goes into more of this with some more questions here. So she loves Josh the P, but not his family who's providing for her? And how is her relationship with the girls he SA'd? As far as I know, she enjoys the sisters-in-laws, but not the oodles of siblings-in-laws. She doesn't like Jim Bob or Michelle. So I'm assuming, I was kind of a little bit confused about the phrasing of that. I'm assuming she's saying that she likes Jana, Jessa, Jill, Ginger, Joy, but she's not down for like Abby, Lauren, Kendra, and all of that. I guess that kind of makes sense. And also, Anna's been around since 2008, 2009, and the first sister-in-law didn't come in until like 2017. So it also might just be that they're new, and then she had all of this time to kind of get to know Josh's sisters for so long. So this question right here was one of the most interesting, I know I keep on saying interesting, but one of the most interesting little tidbits of the whole AMA other than the Justin and Claire thing. Someone asked, can you give us more insight into saying that Anna's a savage? I feel like there's so much more there. Do you have any specific examples you would be able to share? And Lily says, she was sitting with the babysitter for her kids talking mad crap about how much she was annoyed with Jana and Laura. Also talking mad crap about this subreddit. Can't give details because it would expose a few things, but Anna is a no BS kind of woman when it comes to drama, and when it comes to Josh, I can't really say anything besides she thinks he's innocent. So, very interesting that Anna would be crap talking Jana and Laura with her babysitter. I just can't imagine that happening, but at the same time, I can. I guess I just can't picture it. It's just hard to picture. And talking about the subreddit, I don't know. Like, part of me just doesn't believe that Anna is sitting around talking about a subreddit. I feel like she has bigger fish to fry, but maybe she doesn't. Maybe that's the little crap she thinks about during the day to get, to distract herself from the real problems. That poor babysitter. I do wish I could be a fly on the wall during one of those convos, though. My goodness, me too. Lily says, oh, nah, dude, the babysitter is dope as F. Everyone in this sub knows her name. I just can't say it because we're friends. That's so interesting. I wonder who that is. I don't really have any ideas at the moment. But it seems that Lily has this information because they are friends. Why was she annoyed with Laura and Jana? Laura and Jana were trying to start beef with the babysitter. Anna loves the babysitter, so she gave her a pep talk basically saying, don't let this bother you. I don't know why they act this way. You're above them. Shake it off. I just simply cannot fathom why Laura and Jana were trying to start beef with the babysitter. It's interesting. If anybody has any crazy fan fiction they can think of, please send me a link to where you can write it on Reddit, or maybe write it in the comments if you made it this far into the video and have an idea for a little fanfic, because this is an interesting idea. Alright, y'all, those were all of the highlights that I picked out from that AMA. It was definitely one of the better AMAs, and I know it was one of the more credible due to the Madison Lily leak, but it is really important to remember to take all AMAs with a grain of salt, especially ones where you don't give your name or many identifying features. Even if Lily did know the Duggars and she is in contact with people, she also is getting all of this information from word of mouth and just gossip. So we have to be careful to just believe things blindly. I definitely hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching.